hope you enjoy the rest of your flight. By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it's gotta be, Bernie.
Morning somewhere.
For
May 22nd, 2024. Nailed it.
I'm Ashley Burns, sitting right over there, looking cute. See, fastening his seatbelt, it's Bernie Burns.
What I'm hearing from this is you want me to compliment your looks when I introduce you more often.
I'm just objectifying you as much as possible.
Ashley, I have notes. I have notes about
Is
your
it the
intro.
energy levels?
What was that? Switcheroo. I said, hey, do you want to do it this time? We'll change things up. We did have a plan for, I'm resting my voice for one more day to make sure I don't blow it out. Couple things. I got like a lot of housekeeping here at the beginning of this.
Oh boy. All right, buckle up.
One thing is, branding changes are hard, right? They're always hard because they don't happen that frequently. So the solution is change your branding all the time.
All the time.
So we may be changing stuff up. And the plan was to be changing stuff up more frequently than we have been even to this point.
Well, it's
So-
easy to be lazy. We've been lazy.
Yeah, well, it's a...
And things take time.
Also, people really latch on to the morning routine of the opening, as well, which I appreciate because that's part of a morning show is the routine of it, but more so the logo and stuff like that. So the logo is going to be changing a little bit. Not that anybody cares too much, but we're going to do constant refreshes on our logo, kind of like a seasonal thing.
Yeah. In fact, I've been, now that Rooster Teeth is no more, I've actually been speaking to one of the incredibly excellent and talented designers that I've worked with previously at Rooster Teeth, and she's taken a crack at some logo designs for
You have
us.
seen her work all over the place.
Oh, absolutely everywhere. And so we'll post that up and show you guys maybe some of the processes we go through as well.
That'll probably more the
various
Patreon
rounds.
stuff. Will be more the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
because everyone else is
yeah. But it's
how the sausage is made.
Yeah, if you care about that sort of thing, it's fun for us anyway, and I'm looking forward to playing with some fun new toys.
I also want to say, I love our community. I love the fact that when I get into the comment threads, occasionally you do get the person who shows up and is like, blah, 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 and everyone's like, get out of here. Like,
I'm sorry, what's your impression?
Blah, 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 blah. And, well, not get out of here, but like, that's not the way we're trying to talk to each other in here. So, like, trying to get people to talk about things appropriately. I also love that we have like engineers and law enforcement people and an opera singer who showed up and was talking to me about my thing of like blowing out my voice. That's something that happens a lot in their career, and they see it a lot with their colleagues and different things I should check out, that I may have damaged my vocal cords. Or Ashley, I might have a nodule,
All polyps.
a polyp, something like that.
I
on my
have
throat.
heard about in fact, those happen quite a lot with singers. In fact, I've heard singers delaying or having to put a pause on concert tours and things like that.
Here, look, take a look real quick. Do I have anything on here? Look over here. Here, I'll turn my iPhone light. Here we go.
No, looks good. All clear.
Other housekeeping thing is I have a bone to pick.
Oh no. What's your bone?
I have a bone to pick with our audience. First of all, two amazing things.
I thought you were going to pick it with me.
No. This is with the children are wrong. This is my Principal Skinner moment.
No, the children are wrong. Okay, go ahead.
I'm really upset. I'm feeling neglected. I need some attention. I feel like nobody noticed that the phobias and fetish episode that came out last week, was exactly 20 minutes and 0 seconds.
Is that your fetish?
I feel like nobody appreciates my art when I put that out there. I also want to say when Tyson Fury lost his title in the same week that a new Mad Max movie is coming out, and I titled that episode Fury Ousted, I'm really upset that no one...
You didn't get the praise that one deserved?
I mean, what am I in this for, Ashley? If not for the attention. All right, I'm done. Going forward, constant praise. Constant praise. That's what I'm getting at.
All praise all the time.
That being said, notes about your intro, no good. No.
And not high enough energy, was it?
What was that?
Okay, allow me to try again. Good morning to you, wherever you are. It's got to be morning somewhere.
You sound like you're making fun of it. All right. We're moving on. What is going on in the world on this lovely Wednesday?
Well,
it's going to be an aggravating. But first of all, let me say it before I know what's going on in the world.
Okay.
And I do want to give a warning to anyone who listens to our podcast. Maybe you got some episodes banked. Maybe you're listening to this in real time on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024.
Nailed it.
If you're doing that to get on a plane and you want to have something to listen to on a plane, this is not the podcast for you. Maybe hit skip right now
Go to a different episode.
because we're going to be talking about lots of different plane stuff.
The big thing in the news at the moment is there was a flight. It was headed from London to Singapore. It suffered an event of extreme turbulence. It dropped like 6,000 feet over the course of 3 minutes.
That's the number I keep reading, 6,000 feet.
6,000 feet. And you think about it, planes, when they get up to a flight, a long haul like that, it's probably what, 30...
I'd say
30,000 feet is general cruising altitude, right? And so you get up...
what are you saying? What's your cruising?
30,000?
It depends on how far they're going to go.
Right. So
the farther
then
they go, they'll go higher.
Right. So the
I would say
longer haul flight like
35,
that would be...
37,000 feet.
So, you're talking...
Doesn't it say in the article like what was their altitude that they were cruising at?
I don't see the altitude. I just see how far it dropped. But when you put that into just a percentage, right? You're talking like a 20% drop in altitude in 3 minutes. It was unexpected.
6,000 feet, if you're keeping score at home, is more than a mile.
Yes, it's 1,800 meters for those who are measuring in kilograms.
I'm not up on my metric, but that's slightly more than a kilometer, I think. Can I listen? I'm picking bones all over the place here.
Okay, go for it.
I love the metric system.
But
it's a base 10 system. It makes sense.
But
there are some issues I have with it. It's great for conversions. It's great for, if you want to go from centimeters to meters to kilometers. It's even great if you want to go from volume to weight. It can be great for that as well when you're cooking and things like that, or working with water specifically. The crazy thing about the metric system to me, of living now in a system where they use the metric system, is for whatever reason, the base 10 system, which seems to be the greatest advantage of the metric system, nobody uses the denominations of tenths. Nobody uses decameters. Nobody uses decimeters. You never hear it said. Use meters, use centimeters. You don't use decimeters. But a decimeter is actually a really decent amount of distance compared to like inches and feet. It's great. Likewise, you don't use decigrams. You use milligrams or grams. You don't really use centigrams too much or anything like that, or milliliters or liters. You don't use deciliters. It's so weird that nobody uses the 10th denomination in metric.
Well, it seems that it tends to go from 1 to 100 to 1,000. That's the other conversions exist, but what gets used is 1 or 100
Let me think about
or
this.
1,000.
Yeah, because you use millimeters, centimeters, kilometers. Okay, meters.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now that we've talked you off that particular cliff,
What's 100 meters?
a centimeter.
Right, go ahead. What is like that's interesting. Like, you don't know what is the measurement for 100 meters. That's interesting to me.
Centimeter. Centimeter.
It's the US dollar, everybody. I'll spoil you on that. Okay, go ahead.
But back to the plane. This is I guess you could call it the first time. There was a fatality on this flight. It was a 73-year-old man died, and there were several other people who were critically wounded as part of this. When the plane dropped, or when it started dropping, not everyone was wearing seatbelts, and those who weren't were basically thrown around the cabin like dolls. One of the passengers was talking about how people were hitting the overhead luggage compartments so hard.
I saw that.
They were denting and breaking through into where the masks were.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah, dangerous stuff. So
that's why you always listen to flight attendants. Always listen to flight attendants.
Yep.
Don't give them any shit. They're putting themselves at risk all the time.
Just so that they can bring you a snacky snack.
And I know it's if you fly on a regular basis, sometimes you see that seatbelt sign is on. You're like, yeah, but it feels okay. And then you like step out in the aisle and you get shamed down the aisle. You get the flight attendant yelling down the aisle, going, "Sir,
please take your seat."
So he's the second sir. That's the one, sir.
Yeah, it's right. It escalates real quick.
Yeah, get in there.
Would you say that's like a sir?
You're like, no, I need to get my laptop. I can't be without a screen for 10 seconds. Yeah.
This one's kind of crazy. Just overall, as a flight disaster, it landed. They made an emergency landing in Bangkok instead of Singapore, and and got everybody off. And there's still like the details still kind of coming in. They're saying there were thunderstorms developing in the area, but this was clear air turbulence, which is the kind that no one can see coming.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. The reason why they fly so high as they can, because the air up there is thinner, which gives you a smoother ride, but it also makes you much more fuel efficient when you're up there. One of the worst plane stories I ever heard was from a guy who used to travel all the time in the 70s. And he used to talk about Southwest Airlines in America, which is like the equivalent of
It's like
EasyJet here in the UK, or Ryanair a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of a budget airline.
No frills, I would say.
Yes.
Like they lean into the no frills thing, and they did for a long time. He said that, way back, even before, like the Pan Am bombings and things like that, they would take $20 cash at the door. That they used to, when Southwest started, yeah. When Southwest started, they flew between Houston and Dallas and San Antonio, I want to say. You want to verify that for me?
Yeah, I'll look up.
And that you would basically, it was just like a commuter airline for those cities, and you could just show up. And the reason why they didn't have assigned seating was because in their history, you could just show up with cash at the door of the plane and get on the plane.
That's insane. So it really was an Airbus.
I didn't experience that personally, but I love the idea that could have existed at some point in time. But he said one time he was flying a flight and he was going to Denver. I don't think it was Southwest, because they don't fly out there. And they got about halfway to Denver, and his ears popped. Like, all of a sudden, like really hard, his ears popped. And he's like, what was that? And he had just enough time to think that, and all the masks dropped. And when they show the mask drop, when the flight attendant does the little demonstration, she just kind of like plops it out of her hand.
Yep.
That's not the way that happened, he said. It sounds like 8 shotguns going off at the same time.
It's a lot of shotguns
because
in
they
one
all
airplane.
they're on these panels that drop and they all slam down, and then the masks come down. And so the plane apparently lost pressure, which is what caused his ears to pop as well. And he started to reach for his mask, and then the plane just tipped on its wing, like on the right, and then started to descend. And the way he described it, it started to descend so quickly that you could hear it, like in a World War II movie, like the yeah. And it just dropped and dropped up, and it's like, we're gonna die. And if you're at 35,000 feet and you're getting down to breathable air, which is, according to him, they went down to about 10,000 feet. It takes a while to get down there. Like if you think about it, somebody jumping out of a plane and free falling for skydiving,
It's a couple minutes.
it takes a while to fall. That's the worst part about it. It's like it's a great distance. Like 6,000 feet is a mile. If you're 7 miles up, it takes a while to get down. So they descended, and this is his story. The old lady in front of him peed all over his shoes. That she
that poor
peed in her
lady.
seat. Yeah.
I mean, also him, but that poor lady.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he can get his shoes. I mean, that must have been a horrifying experience for her. And then it drops, and they get down to 10,000 feet, and they just level off, and then they start flying. And they fly for about a minute or two. Pilot comes on over the intercom and goes, great way to start. Yeah. So we suddenly lost cabin pressure, so I had to get us down to 10,000 feet, 12,000 feet as quickly as I could, and we're about halfway between San Antonio and Denver, so we turn around and go back. It'll be the same distance, or we can keep going. So we're just going to keep going, but we can't fly above this altitude, so it's going to be very warm and very bumpy. And he said, the guy who's telling me the story said, he was not lying. By the end of the flight, every single person on the flight threw up. And
oh my God.
When they got to the gate, like people just poured out of the plane,
like pushing, flooding out like
and
zombies.
just they were laying on the floor in the terminal, and everyone's like, what the hell? And there were people like literally kissing the ground. Like they were so happy to be on the ground.
That was
the worst
flight.
plane story I ever heard. And this one rivals that. 6,000 feet drop is crazy.
That's
crazy.
That's pretty insane. I haven't ever had a really, really terrible flight. I've had some that were very, very turbulent, but none where I thought I was about to fly out of the sky.
I have never, I can't say, I've had weird experiences, but I can't say that I've ever had anything that would be a traumatic flight.
Yeah. So I think I'll count myself quite lucky. But this is interesting. And I wonder if we're going to start to see a lot more scrutiny on this flight in light of all of the scrutiny on Boeing flights earlier this year.
No, it didn't even occur to me to find out what the what kind of plane they were flying. Does it say there?
The Boeing 777.
Was it?
Yeah.
But I don't think turbulence is one of those things. If anything, it shows how the plane was able to robustly handle turbulence.
Yes, it is just one of those things that like is gonna add to the pile of like bad flight stories from this year that have already made people very nervous about getting on any plane that's a Boeing.
I had a friend in the 90s who described flying on commercial airlines as the national death lottery. Like we all buy a ticket. There's a good chance one of the planes in the year will go down and everyone on it will die. And we just all kind of accept that. It's weird because post 9/11, everything seems so much safer in air travel now that when you hear about a plane crashing, it's a much bigger deal. Like when a plane disappears, like the Malaysian flight did, or something like that. Or when you hear a plane actually going, or one fatality on a plane, it's global news now.
Yeah,
I feel like planes are so much safer than they used to be.
I think statistically, it is one of the safest ways to travel.
I think it's
and
the
that,
safest.
And that cars are one of the least safe. And yet, look at all the people in cars. It's just one of those things. I think
hamster ball is slightly safer.
well, let's just all go in bubbles. I think the thing about planes is it's kind of like buses, right? You have no control over it. You are trusting the driver. Or in this case, the pilot, and you are turning over all control over what happens to this vehicle.
Yeah.
And so that's what I probably
You're
makes
having
people
faith in
more
the
nervous.
system?
Yeah.
Well, so we don't talk about planes the entire podcast. Ashley, I know you are over there and you want to discuss something. So I'll go quiet with all my plane stories over here. And you can talk about your Victorian hussies or whatever it is that you're watching.
Right, so we're going to do a hard right turn from plane disasters and talk about Bridgerton for a minute. So Bridgerton season 3 came out, and it's right at the top of Netflix. In fact, it is the biggest debut of the series. And the series itself has done very, very well already. Every time a new season comes out, it is top of the charts, does really, really well. And they even had a spinoff already called Queen Charlotte. But this is season 3, just hit the first 4 episodes hit. And it's the biggest debut for the series so far. It got 45.1 million views with half the episodes.
Wow.
Of which I'm at least 4. So well done me. I'll take the trophy. But it's meaning that it's doing really, really well. And now we're all annoyed. So watch out for any Bridgerton viewer in your life because we have to wait until June for the rest of the season.
So here's what I'm hearing. There's a whole bunch of ladies out there who were watching a bunch of sexy content and now that's been taken away from them.
It's been taken away.
Would you describe them as frustrated?
Yes.
Just
watch
like
it. Hey.
Opportunity.
No, I love this series. It's so much fun. If I had to describe it to someone who has never watched it, is not familiar with the material, I would describe it as Jane Austen meets Gossip Girl. Jane
Austen meets Gossip Girl. Great. Okay, cool.
So you've got a good idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's clear. It's clear as a bell. Sounds like Houston Oilers 1993 meets Ice Pirates. Right? We're really communicating here on each other's level. We understand each other perfectly.
I'm glad I was able to use other context that you are so familiar with to describe this particular material.
Listen, we cover a lot of bases here. That's all I'm going to say. We cover a lot of bases. I'm not coming up with the title for this episode that you're doing.
No, it is a really fun series though. If you're like me and you like the pretty dresses and it's like, I don't know, it's stupid, but it's like all the fabric is really nice and they're always at these really pretty events. It's like just it's nice to watch. Like it's very pretty. It's very like comforting. And then yes, also you're shouting at the screen being like, don't be an idiot, kiss him.
Well, the good news is, Ashley, that your viewing records will now live forever because stop me at the point where this sounds ominous.
Okay, go ahead.
And dystopian. Microsoft launches a new product called Recall. Artificial intelligence will record everything you do.
Okay, stop.
Everything you do on your PC. Ashley, it's for quick recovery.
Oh, sure it is.
So go by. We'll link this one to Linked Up. I know we've talked a lot about AI this week, and this is a technology thing. Yeah, but Microsoft is like went and did this presentation where I'm sure everyone in the audience was like, why do we want that?
Right. Well, you know what, though, is we have talked about it in the context of AI assistants in the past. Like people won't be satisfied until this assistant remembers and knows every single thing you do, so that she can just instantly pull up whatever it is that you're talking about and have context for it. And we were like, that would be ridiculous, right? It's been less than like a week since we talked about that, Bernie.
I feel like we should have a duty too, where part of the link dump on an ongoing basis is we just have a link to the best bargain on like a homesteading piece of land somewhere, so that people can just get out.
I'll be leaving now.
Right.
All right, since you did the intro, you do the outro.
I would like to say thank you to our sponsors today, Dan Fedinition and Talent. Thank you for sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere.
Are you thanking the concept of talent there? Is that what that
No,
is?
I'm thanking an individual called Talent.
Talent. Oh, talent with an A at the end.
With an O.
With an O.
That's what's given me a little bit of trouble. Is
I would have said that as talenty.
Talent.
And Dan Fedinition, champion of the world.
Yes, Dan Fedinition has been a sponsor several times. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. We love you, Dan.
And also, since we are talking a bit about our Patreon, I saw a post in our subreddit. Someone was asking, how does one join the Patreon Discord? In your profile on the Patreon website, you can't use the app for this. You do have to use the website. You can connect your Discord account to your Patreon account, and you will automatically have access to our server when you next open Discord. Just want to make sure everyone knows about that, because it can be a little bit confusing what you can do in the app and what you can't.
Boom. Go for it.
Boom. So that does it for us today. We'll be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you'll be here as well.
See you, suckers!